welcome to the Keystone Experience. Rob Warwick,
And Matt Pitzer.
brought to you by Creek Archery. Find your passion and hunt it down.
And Hillview Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Remember, Hillview has it in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, we got a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Zack Southall. I hope I said it right.
Yeah, Southall. It's pretty close.
Well, Zack runs coon dogs, and he's a taxidermist. What more can you ask for? That's like almost 100% the American dream right there.
Do you trap?
You know, I don't trap. I've actually never even really been into trapping. I've never tried it. Not saying I wouldn't try it, but I haven't tried it.
Well, you're that close to perfection then.
I did guide though. This is the first year and since I've been 18 that I haven't guided. So that might replace trapping almost.
What was you guiding for?
So when I first started guiding, I did elk and mule deer hunts in Colorado. And then I got in with an outfitter in Nebraska. A really good friend of mine, and I did deer and turkeys in Nebraska.
Nice.
It was
I don't like
a
Nebraska.
fun ride.
Nebraska takes too long to drive through.
It does. It's miserable going through the state, but when you're there, it's polluted with game. There's stuff all over the place there.
Yeah, see, I just had to drive through it once, and it was awful. I didn't get stopped for anything, and I felt like I was there for 3 days.
Yeah, it's definitely long to get through.
Trying to think, I was in Ogallala, Nebraska. Worked in a power plant out there for a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I think we were north central Nebraska, so we were like 5 or 10 miles away from South Dakota. So
okay.
we were pretty far north. About
Cool.
right in the middle of the state.
And how long did you do that for?
I did that. I think I went to guide school when I was 18, turning 19. And I'm 28 now, just turned 28. So 9 years pretty much I did it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, I love doing it. It's just got a wife and 9 coon dogs out back, so I kind of felt bad leaving her, and it's just you got a lot going on. So
yeah.
It was time to grow up, I say.
Yeah. 9 coon dogs. I remember those days when I had 15 beagles at one time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know how you end up with them, but you just always end up adding one more. Yeah. Somehow, some way, there's always another one that gets added. And another thing that happens is you never seem to get rid of any.
No.
You always add one and one never leaves. So it's just kind of dog business.
Yep.
Now, how did you get started into using dogs to hunt for them?
So actually, this goes back to guide school. When I went to guide school, I went with Royal Tyne Guide and Packer School. They also do outfitting for some elk hunts in Montana. They also have black and tans, which is my breed of choice, and they run them for cats out in Montana. So when I was out there, they have a whole pack of them. They call it their varsity and their JV squad. They have a group of older dogs that's pretty reliable, and they have a group of younger ones that's still up and coming. And they had a little puppy. I think her name was Hope at the time. And I had said to my girlfriend, my now wife, I'm getting one of these things. I'm going to find out where I can buy one of these on my way home. And I did some searching and found a guy in Iowa that had one. And I didn't even tell my parents. I still lived at home at the time. I didn't tell my parents I was bringing a dog home, and she flew out to drive home with me, and we stopped and picked out a puppy, and that's how I got into it.
Wow.
So I didn't grow up coon hunting. That was never really a thing. I never really knew anyone that did it. And then I got a pup and made some friends local that had dogs, older dogs, and we started hunting together a bunch, and then it was kind of full swing from there.
And
But
how long you been doing that now?
so I've been coon hunting with dogs for probably 9 or 10 years. But I've been doing it competitively for 3 or 4 years. It took me a while to kind of break into the competitive side of things. But once I started doing it, I wouldn't do it any other way. I always loved competition. I've always been very competitive, and doing the competitive side of things definitely gives you like an extra push to go out.
Yeah, yeah. You guys aren't doing it to sell fur.
No, no, I'm not. I'm not doing it to sell fur, and don't get me wrong. I definitely knock some out. To the dogs, they need a reward. They all
Right.
need a reward. Um, but a lot of the times I'm running and training them and getting dogs ready to compete at high levels. And
Cool.
anymore, like it does kind of suck. You were saying about trapping. It's almost not even worth skinning the things anymore.
Yeah, yeah. That's the honest to God's truth.
It's tough, and I do skin them when I keep them because the hides end up getting used on puppies. I train them with puppies, and that's the best way to do it is a fresh hide. Um, so I have a stack of coon hides in my freezer that whenever the puppies start to chew them up, then they get thrown in the trash. And but that's what I do with most of mine that I shoot, and I'm not out there laying waste to them by any means,
Right.
but uh, but I just use them as a pup training tool.
Well, I mean, that's just, what people don't understand about hunting. There are different ways of using the animal. You're not just
Yes,
out eliminating it, throwing it out in the trash.
right.
You're using it for different purposes, and you're also getting rid of nuisance animals.
Right. And I'm a big turkey hunter too, so if I can help the turkeys a little bit, I'll do it as much as I can. And I know some of my friends that coon hunt, they're like, if you kill them all, we're not going to have any to tree. And I'm always like, listen, there is no way that you could
No.
ever kill enough raccoons to make a dent in what there is. I mean, you would have to go out and every night of the week be killing 4 or 5 coons to even like do a dent on how many there are. Though it's like if you shoot one, then the next night you tree more than you did the night before. They just
Yep.
I don't know where they come from, but they just come up out of the ground.
I know a guy that he traps this year here. He's caught in Pennsylvania 274 coons,
Ooh,
and that's a 6 mile trap line. That's not a very long line,
right.
you know.
And
And that was
he could still probably go catch it next year in trapping season. He'll still probably do big numbers too.
yep, yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different logic of thinking things, and I always try to keep an open mind, with people and do stuff. My dad always kind of told me, he's like, if you're going to get in a debate with somebody, you better know their side of the argument more than you know your own side of the argument.
Exactly.
So I try to look at it from a conservation standpoint and enjoying to coon hunt.
Yep, yep.
So I guess my next logical question is, what are the different types of dogs that you can use? Because you said black and tan. I'll be honest, I know absolutely not one thing about using dogs to hunt coons. I know the
Yep.
dog chases them, it puts them up a tree, and then you go shoot it.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
use any
So
dog, or are there certain breeds that are better than others?
so the main registry for coonhounds is the United Kennel Club. There's also the PKC, which is Pro Hound or Professional Kennel Club, and there's a couple other that are really small kennel clubs, but those would be the two primary. They recognize 7 breeds of coonhounds. You have your I'm trying to do them in order here. You have your black and tans, you have your blue ticks, you have your American leopard hounds, you have your treeing walkers, your red bones, What am I missing here? Red bones. You have your English and your plot. So those are the seven that they recognize as coon dogs, or yeah, as coon hounds. Um, People will use different things too. I'm sure you've heard of a mountain cur.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of curs that are very diverse. Actually, they're mainly known for squirrel dogs and stuff like that. But there's some cur dogs out there that are fantastic at training coons. Um, there's but those are the main. Those seven are the main that people use for coon hunting.
And how did you wind up selecting the black and tans? Is that the only ones that you've ever used, or?
I have only personally run black and tans, and it was just from guide school. I was out of guide school and I saw that pup and I was like, I'm getting me one of these, and ever since then, I've just that's kind of what I stuck with, and kind of there's like a saying in the dog world that like certain people say they're not colorblind. They might have six different breeds in their kennel at one time, which is completely fine and dandy. I've just kind of I've taken a liking to my black and tans. Um, I don't know what it is about them. Maybe their color. I think a black dog looks sharp, and they're trimmed and tan. They get nice and slicked up. Um, but I wouldn't say I'm colorblind either. If there's a dog that's capable of winning, um, I'm not saying it's going to be out back forever, but I would help a friend out if I needed to.
Most of the guys around here, most of them are running red bones. Is what they got.
Where exactly are you at?
We're down in Greensburg,
Okay.
right, not far from Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if you heard of the Harveys.
Rings a bell. I have a good buddy, and he's one of my best friends, and that's all he runs is red bones. So if I would tell him those names, he would definitely know who they are.
Yeah, Art and Dutch Harvey and Paul. Uh, oh, geez, I can't. Timmy. There's a few other.
The Paul guy sounds familiar. That name kind of rings a bell, and I know, like I said, if I would see him or whatever, I would probably it would ring a bell or something like that. But I know there's different pockets everywhere. Some people like different stuff and their
Yeah,
buddies have it, so then that's what they get, and you just get pockets of different breeds kind of wherever.
I mean, I had a red bone for about 6 days,
Did it take
and
off or did you sell it?
I sold him.
Yeah.
We went out hunting one night with a buddy of ours, and come home, and the next day his buddy that was with us said to me, he said, "Man, I really like that dog you got." He said, "You be interested in selling it?" I said, "Everything's for sale."
Yep.
He says, "I just want one that's going to be gentle with the kids and I can take in the house." And I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, I don't know about taking him in the house." I said, "He sleeps in a shed." I said, "You want to take him in the house, that's on you." I said, "He's 3 years old." I said, "He's never bit anybody. He's good with kids,
Yeah.
you know." I said, "And he loves to be out chasing coons." I
Yeah.
said, "You got to see what he did last night." And he bought him off of me, and I don't know. I'm sure the dog's passed away since then, but yeah,
And that's I think a big misconception about, I'll just say working dogs in general. I like to have a dog with a purpose. I like them to have a job. But I think a lot of people, they don't understand that even though they're a working dog and yeah, they might be outside, but like they're still a part of my family. Like we have nieces and nephews that come over and they want to get the dogs out and play with the dogs and they're licking up on the kids and having a good time. So
yep.
they definitely have a purpose for hunting wise, but they also are just great dogs in general.
Go ahead, buddy. Looks like you had a question there.
Well, how do you get started in the competition part of it?
So it started. I'm trying to think of how I knew there was competition hunts, obviously, and I'll tell you actually what it ended up being. I wanted to breed my old female. She's downstairs sleeping on the couch right now. She's retired. She's going to be 9 this year, so she's retired. I wanted to have a pup out of her because I really liked a lot of the stuff that she did, and I didn't want the pup to have, be out of a PR dog, which is, one that's not titled or anything like that. Um, so after she raised the pup, I was like, well, I need to get this dog titled, because I don't want to have that on my pedigree. I don't want to have a blank space on the pedigree for this pup. Um, and like I said, I had made some friends, and uh, I just kind of jumped into it and started competing, and then I got hooked. It adds another level of competition, um, and it just adds drive. The nights that you don't want to be out in the woods, um, I kind of always have in the back of my head that if I'm not out in the woods, someone that I'm going to hunt against on Saturday is having their dog in the woods. And, it helps me keep working and, I don't know, keeping the dogs better, keeping them in shape. And I don't know, that's how I did it. And I've been all over the country, won a lot of big stuff in those past couple years. And I would never go back.
So is there like a, what do I want to say? A organization
Yeah,
you
so
join
the
or you get into?
United Kennel Club sanctions all of the events,
Okay.
and like I said, there's other registries, but the United Kennel Club and Pro Hound PKC, they are the two biggest ones that have events, and they're all sanctioned. There's local clubs, and each registry has their big hunts throughout the year, their big scheduled hunts. Some of them you have to get qualified for. Others are just, like known big dates that a lot of people go to.
Now, what is a competition? Explain that to somebody that's never heard of, a competition for, coon dogs. What is
Yep.
it?
So we'll just speak on we'll go on a local level here. It's probably the easiest to explain. Um, so you go to a hunt, most of them will have a bench show, a field trial, and a night hunt. So your bench show is, you'll gate your dog. They see how your dog gates up and down beside the bench. And then you'll put your dog up on a bench. A judge will go over your dog, check out its muscle structure, its angulation, its bone structure, its ear length. Each breed has a different standard of what your dog should look like. And then you'll go up against the other dogs, and the judge will say, they'll pick which dog fits their breed the best. That's how the bench shows work. The field trial is pretty much a race. They'll drag a coon hide. It might be 200 yards, might be 400 yards through the woods, and you line 3 dogs up at a time. Or I'm sorry, 4 dogs up at a time, and you turn them loose. And the first dog to cross the finish line and the first dog to bark on the tree gets points. I more so enjoy bench showing dogs and night hunting dogs. And then in the night hunts, you have 3 categories of dogs. You have your open registered dogs, you have your night champion dogs, and you have your grand night champion dogs. Obviously, open is the lowest level, and then night champion, and then grand night being the highest. You only hunt against dogs that are in your same class. So if I have an open registered dog that I'm taking to a hunt, I would only be hunting against 3 other dogs that are open registered. So you get there, you pay your money, you sign up for the hunt, and then a lot of local stuff. You might have 10 dogs at it or something like that. It's not super big. And you only go out in groups of 4. They're called a cast. You get your cast picked out, and I'll be hunting against 3 other dogs. And then you have your point system. The first dog to bark on a track is 100 points, and then second is 75, 50, 25. And then the first dog to come treed is 125, and then 75, 50, 25. And there's a whole, I mean, there's a big pamphlet. I didn't bring it up with me, but there's a big pamphlet of rules and all that stuff. But mainly the name of the game is to tree as most raccoons as you can in the set amount of time for the hunt is kind of the game.
Okay, so it's on like a select piece of property. You don't just go sign up and then go hunt your own property.
No, so you can like if you're most clubs require that you're a member of that club in order to guide out of there. But you'll draw out with your cast. There'll be 4 dogs there, and someone in the group will have spots to hunt. Whether it's private or public land, they'll have spots that they hunt that they'll take the group of dogs to, and then you turn them loose.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining that, because you were saying about competition, and I was trying to picture like what that would look like.
Yes, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's your dog can get plussed, your dog can get minused. Obviously, if you go to a tree and there's no raccoon in it, you don't get plus points for that. You get minused. But there's circle points where if your dog trees and there's an obvious den, there could be a coon in the den, but you just can't see it. So circle points, they don't help you, but they don't hurt you. And then plus points, obviously, is when you see your raccoon. That's when you get plussed. But it gets bigger scale at bigger events. Like this weekend, this past weekend, UKC had a hunt. It's called the Tournament of Champions. You had to qualify to get into that hunt. Your dog had to have, I think, a minimum of 5 wins last year in order to qualify for the hunt. And I think they ended up sending, don't quote me on an exact number, but I think it was like 856 dogs across the country they sent to the woods Friday and Saturday night last week.
Wow. And what size property do you need for that many dogs to go hunt?
So for an instance like that, it's a national event. So they have I think it was 6 or 7 zones that you could go to. You could hunt out of South Carolina, Ohio, Indiana, Texas, Missouri, Kentucky, and Arkansas, I think, were the different places that you could go to. And they obviously, go through their record books and be like, okay, these certain areas have good numbers of people in their club that are able to guide. Like I didn't hunt and I had a dog there, but my partner took the dog this weekend. He was hunting out of Missouri, and I think there was 156 dogs put in the woods out of Missouri on Friday night where he was at. The thing is, not everything's always going to be close, So there were some groups of dogs that might have been driving 20 minutes away from the clubhouse, and then there was other groups that might have been driving 2 hours to where they were going to hunt. So it's kind of, it's a lot of logistics and planning that goes into it for a big event like that. And thank God I don't have to worry about it. All I do is go turn my dog loose and try to win. So I'm glad there's a kennel club for that aspect of things.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine trying to get that all organized and set up in that whole process. Now, you said a guide. You have somebody that goes with you for scoring, or is it on your honors?
So they'd it's an honor system, but
that sounds dangerous.
Well, I don't want to say it's an honor system. There is a judge assigned to the group. So out of the 4 dogs, the master of hounds or the guy in charge of the club, they will select a judge in that group. So you can be hunting a dog. They call it a hunting judge. You can be a hunting judge, and it's always better to have a non-hunting judge if you can, because then they don't have a dog in the fight,
Right.
But when you have huge events like that, it's tough to have non-hunting judges at everyone, and there's policies and rules put in play, so a judge can't just wrongly minus your dog or something like that. There's voting policies and all kinds of stuff that you can do to kind of get away from someone trying to screw you over. But it still definitely happens, and it's unfortunate that it does. But a lot of times when there's money involved and stuff, that's when things kind of hit the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to think how you would cheat. I'm thinking of those two guys with the fishing boat that put the lead in the fish. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think, man, well, it's not the heaviest coon.
No, so there's ways, like there's different rules put in play. One's it's called a babbling rule. So dogs that, like, as soon as you turn them off the chain, if they start barking, that's kind of, I would say it's a fault in a dog. You don't want a dog to just bark for no reason.
You don't want a mouthy dog.
Right. But also I want to hear it on track. So I mean, you can minus dogs for that. And there's people that won't see your raccoons, if they know they're deliberately losing the cast. And, I could say, there's my coon right there. And then the three other guys might be buddies and they're like, I don't see it. So there's people definitely do things like that, and it's wrong. But it definitely happens.
Now, you as a hunter, what equipment are you taking when you go on these hunts?
So around the house, I usually always have, might not be a full case, but usually there's a broken case of water in my truck rolling around somewhere. Dog box. I have Garmin collars that I run on my dogs. But equipment wise, I would say the most important thing is the collars, the tracking collars. Because when you have a lot of money wrapped up into a dog, it can't get lost. Something can always happen to a dog. Don't get me wrong. Especially when you're turning them loose in the dark. But I want to know where it's at all times.
Right.
That would be my most important thing. And I think my second most important thing is my light. I spent way too much money on the light that I have. I want to have the best light that I can have so that when I get to the trees and I'm shining trees that I have every bit of help that I have to find my coon and score him.
Well, what lights do you use?
So there's a company, really good friends with them. It's called Bright Eyes Lights.
Yeah.
It's a bump cap. I have it on a bump cap. And Ray Conrad owns the company, and he's a great guy. He hunts black and tans also. And he builds his lights specially for coon hunting. That's what they're built for. Now, don't get me wrong. In deer season, mine definitely doubles as a deer tracking light. Because there's not a deer tracking light sold on the market that's brighter than that, and I'll tell you that right now. But that's what I use. A lot of them, they have a spotlight. They have a white walking light, a red light because the eyes reflect in the red light, and most of them, they either have a green or like a orangish amber style that they have with them too.
Now, do they have a focus? Like, you know what I mean? Can you adjust the beam, or they still?
It doesn't have an adjustable beam, but it does have 4 different intensities.
Okay.
So it has like a low, medium, high, and like a full-on spotlight.
Okay.
So it does have that you can able to adjust, and that has it for your walking lights also.
See, I was trying to think of how I can get a coyote light out of this, but I guess.
Oh, you definitely could. Yeah, you absolutely could.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've even thought, like, we'll drive past fields when we're done hunting, and I always like to shine fields because some nights, like, my dogs might just not look good, and I'm always wondering, like, was there nothing moving tonight, or did my dog just suck? Because that happens sometimes, so I like to drive around at the end of the nights when I'm done hunting, and I'll hit a couple fields, and it's nice, if you were sitting there with a tripod and a gun, like, you could definitely turn it into a coyote light.
Okay.
Because then you always have it right on top of your head. It's right here, and all you have to do is hit the switch, and you're on.
Yeah. I've heard of other guys around here using his lights. I'm pretty sure that Art and them guys use them too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a couple different companies out there, and I've tried a few, but Ray and Bright Eyes definitely has I would say from what I've used, the best product.
Now, do you wear the briar
I do.
chaps and all
That's
that
my
from
third.
Stony Creek?
Yep, I don't get them from there. I use a different company, but that's the third most important tool that you can have. You need your tracking collars, a good light, and then I wear the chaps with the boots on them.
Okay.
One for briars. Two, I get snake chaps too.
Okay.
That's just because I am a complete pansy about snakes. I can't deal with them. I don't want to see them. I don't want any of it. So even if there's a thought in the back of my head that there might be a snake somewhere, I just want to have the snake chaps.
Okay.
And
If there's a thought in my head that there's a snake somewhere, I'm not going.
well, and that's too, so I definitely have spots that I will not even come close to in the summertime. Like once turkey season hits is usually about my deadline. And there's great coon hunting there, but I will not go in there because of snakes. I absolutely refuse. I won't do it.
This nut plays with rattlesnakes.
So he'd be looking for him in the dark yet, probably.
Yeah.
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 He said, you can, he told me this year, he said, you can be my sacker. I said, what?
No way.
He said, I ain't never got one bit. Well, I can guarantee it ain't going to be me.
Yeah,
I
it's
never got a
definitely not
sacker
gonna
bit.
Ain't happening.
Yeah, well, that's a funny story. My one buddy, he was a wildlife biologist, and they were doing some studies, and he texted me. He's like, "How was your hunt last night?" I was like, "Oh, I did good. We treed one up on the mountain here." He's like, "Where did you tree that?" And I told him where. He was like, "Just because I know how you are, I probably wouldn't hunt there for a while." And I was like, "Why?" He said, "There's one of the largest rattlesnake dens that we're studying about 50 yards from where you treed that coon at."
Nice.
And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm out." So I haven't hunted there in the summer for probably 5 or 6 years now. I don't even look at it in the summertime.
See, and that's where I think it's like finding a gold mine when you jump up on rock and there's 65, 70 rattlesnakes up there sunning.
Oh,
Man, it's like, it's just on a full-on adrenaline rush that you can't get from nothing else, you know?
I can imagine. Yeah, 65 or 70 could probably put you out pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't go in there like a lunatic, you know. I mean, there's been times that I went in there and I've had snakes, pinned down with my feet, in the pinner, holding one by the tail, and then trying to get my buddy to pay attention so I can throw him in a sack. But, most of the guys
isn't there that old saying that goes, if you play with fire, you'll eventually get burnt?
Well, I have been hit twice, so
Yeah, no thanks. I'm glad that you enjoy it, and I hope you continue to enjoy it. I hope you never get bit again. But
well, knock on wood, both bites have been dry. So
okay, well that's at least good.
Yeah, the only one that did get me was the copperhead, and it was like I don't know, a really horrible bee sting.
Yeah.
My arm swelled up. Didn't turn black or blue or anything. It swelled up from my wrist clean up to my elbow.
Oh, man.
For about 4 or 5 days, it hurt to even touch it.
Yeah. Yeah, so now I'm really going to be thinking about not going anywhere where I can get snake bit while I'm coon hunting.
Yeah.
Hey, we just made him retire.
Nah.
He's selling the dogs.
I don't know about that. It'd take a lot to get rid of some dogs, but I just don't hunt. I mean, I have good buddies that hunt in Arkansas. I have buddies all over the country, and I was talking to my buddy from Arkansas. I was like, "How was your hunt last night?" He's like, "I killed 5 snakes." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I killed 5 snakes hunting last night." I said, "That'd be enough for me never to go. If I had to worry about killing 5 snakes when I was hunting, no way."
Yeah. Yeah, I got buddies of mine that duck hunt down in Louisiana and stuff like that, and I mean, they talk about getting in the duck blind at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and either throwing an alligator out or dealing with 5 or 6 cottonmouths. I'm like, that don't even sound fun.
No, it's just not appealing in the slightest.
The alligator thing, I don't. That's the thing that I don't think I can deal with. I can deal with the cottonmouths, get them out of the blind. But getting in a blind that's half submerged in water and then having something bump you in the legs,
Well, because what do you do with them then?
yeah,
You
you're in the
haul them out
blind
of your
with him.
blind, and they're going to swim right back in.
Yeah, you're in there with him. There's no place for you two to go. So, yeah, that's not fun. You can grab the snake and whip it out over the blind, you know?
Or you can empty your gun on it.
Yeah, that's what I would. My duck hunt would be over because I'd just be emptying shells everywhere.
Yeah. Now, I want to jump real quick back to something you said earlier that I'm curious about. You said you got one downstairs that's retired.
Yes.
What is that transition like from going from a hunting dog to kind of more a house dog? Is that a difficult transition, or does she still want to go?
She does. If and I have since changed where I keep my collars and my lights and stuff because if she sees a light and a collar, she knows what's going on. Like she'll stand by the door and she's ready to go. She's 9, or she's not 9 yet. She'll be 9 in June, I think, like that. But she would still, and I still keep her in good shape. We take her for walks and let her run around, and she would go hunt. But when I'm competing, it doesn't benefit me to put a 9-year-old dog in the woods. When I have year-old dogs and 2-year-old dogs that need to be pushed. But she was always, I don't know what it was about her, but she was like the best dog I've ever had, like lifetime dog. She lived in a kennel for most of her life. And then when we got married, uh, I don't I don't know how she ended up in here. She just kind of, started coming in the house more and more. And then we set up a bed and then we brought her food dishes in. And she was great. Like, and I do, even as pups, like they are mostly outside, but I do think, and this is just me, a lot of people tell you different or whatever, but I like a dog to be house trained, no matter if it's going to live in the kennel or if it's going to live in the house. I think it's a good building block foundation principle for a dog because at a young age, you can start to like instill things in their brain, and if a dog isn't working, then they don't really have a purpose. So you always have to keep their mind stimulated and doing something. All my pups, I even house train. I keep them in the house till they're, 4 months old usually, and then they go out into the kennels. But I do like to train them to be in the house.
That makes sense. I just had a question to follow up with that, and I lost. Oh, no, I remember it. Here we go. Do you prefer male or female dogs for hunting? Because I've had different people, I know with us, with waterfowl, some guys like a male because they're more driven. Some like a female because they say they're smarter. Where do you lie on this controversial topic?
So I'm I don't want to say I'm split. So there's different reasons why I like each one. I like a male dog because, and he's not at my house right now. He's at my partner's. I'm going out to pick him up next weekend. But my stud dog, there is no quit. You cannot make that dog quit. You turn him loose and he will get treed somewhere with a raccoon every single time. And he doesn't stop. I could hunt him from the time it gets dark until the sun comes up and he would still be wanting to go. So that's one thing that I like about male dogs. Another thing that I like is that they are very hard-headed. They can take correction. A lot of times females can't take correction as good as male dogs can. So I do like that about males, but that kind of segues into what I like about females is that usually you correct them hard once and they're not going to do it again. They have feelings. Females have feelings, and they still hunt good. Like I have a female in the kennel who I really like, and I'm going to push hard this year. But I would say I would tend now to lean more towards male dogs with what I've seen with my stud dog and all that. I would tend to lean more towards male dog.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I've heard from different people. It seems to fall in line. Now, do you
Yeah,
run multiple at one time, or is it just you take one dog per hunt?
it depends on what I'm getting ready for. If I'm getting ready for a specific event, like this past weekend was that tournament of champions that my partner had my stud dog in. He hunted him pretty much solely by himself. Um, Hunted him mostly by himself, and then he would take him to small local hunts on the weekends, so that he could get used to calling him in a competition and being around strange dogs. Um, but if I'm just out pleasure hunting, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, whatever, and there's no big events coming on, I'll take one or two to the woods. Usually two is what I like to do. More than that is a complete nuisance to do by yourself. Even two sucks to handle by yourself. You're dragging dogs and they're throwing their nose up in the air, doing all that stuff. And if I'm by myself, I have one. If I have a friend with me, I always have two or three.
Yeah, it's always harder to control more dogs. I know with the beagles, we used to take 4, 5. Once you hit that 4 or 5 mark, and you're
Then it
just
gets to be crazy.
yeah, you're just basically wasting time, and you're gonna end up getting 3 or 4 chases with 3 or 4 different rabbits, and you can't pay attention to all that. You know what I
Right.
mean? You need that group of dogs to stay on one rabbit, and that's it.
Yep. And that's kind of where, I like to mix it up too. Like I said, it depends on what you're getting a dog ready for. And sometimes, if you hunt a dog by itself all the time, then you go to a hunt and you're hunting it with other dogs, it won't go hunting because
Yeah,
it's so shell shocked that there's other dogs around. It could look like $1 million dog by itself every night, but because it's never been acclimated to being around other people or other dogs, then when you take it to a hunt, and then it looks like crap because it doesn't know what to do when there's other dogs in the area.
yeah, yeah. I heard a lot of guys say that you got to have your dogs with other dogs,
Yep,
even if it's not the same dogs in your kennel. Get them with buddies' dogs or something like
yep.
that. You know.
And now too, that being said, I like them to not be trained together. I like them, maybe a dog over here and another dog over here, a couple hundred yards with their own raccoons. I do like that. But I do like turning them loose with other dogs to get them used to it.
Now, do you use live coons to train with too?
I don't. I do, but not very often.
Okay.
The reason I don't do it is because a lot of times people screw their puppies up because there's a 20-pound coon in a trap that's growling and angry.
Yeah.
And then they expect a puppy to bark at it, and the puppy's petrified.
Right.
So I try to wait to show them a live raccoon um, till they're a little bit older. But I will use it. There's different ways you can do it. One way is it's a kind of a controlled situation. You can drag the cage on the ground and then hoist it up into a tree with a rope.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way. That's a good way to do it. And I would say that's mostly how I do it if I use a live raccoon. Like I said, people screw their dogs up a lot more than they think they are when they're showing them a live one right in front of them. So
Yeah, I've seen guys do that before, especially with young pups. You know.
and some of them handle it different. You might have a young puppy that just goes in and starts biting at the cage and trying to get to the raccoon. And other ones might run back to the kennel and crawl in the box and hide.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a fine line that you're walking. Just have to know what your dog's doing and
Yeah.
how they're bred and all that stuff.
Yeah. I've seen it. Again with the beagles. We used to keep a fenced in area back in my grandfather's yard, high grass. We'd go out and box trap a bunch of wild rabbits, stick them in
Uh-huh.
there, throw 12 puppies in there. You know, there's always 4 or 5 of those puppies that'll just stand there while the rest of them are chasing them things around.
Yep.
And it's because they're scared to death. That rabbit's as big as they are.
Yes.
you know, and they know the other dogs are chasing it, but they just don't want to do it, you know.
My partner likes to use house cats. He lives on a farm in Illinois, and they have a couple cats that they keep around. And he said he started more coon dogs with that one cat than most people have in their entire life. He said because the cat, it comes in the house every now and then. It's a I don't really like cats, but it's a cool cat. Um, but he said usually you can tell which ones are going to make it when they're about 10 weeks old, um, and they start chasing the cat up a tree. And the cat,
Okay.
he doesn't care. He's been through it. He lives on a farm, and there's plenty of coon dogs all over the place, so he knows that the puppies aren't going to hurt him. But he said
Yeah.
once they start like biting at the tail and chasing them up a tree, he's like, that's the one you want to keep.
I was pulling up pictures on your Facebook here,
Yep.
and there was one on there of, I guess, your dog on the pedestal. That's your cover photo.
Yep.
And then there's a video on here. I don't know. Somehow we'll see if we can get that whenever we do this episode, if we can get that video off of you
Yep.
to put on along with this so that people can see it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's another thing. People got to go out and try this one time. If you can find somebody that wants to take you out and try it,
Absolutely.
there's nothing like listening to a set of hounds start. You know, the bark, you can tell the bark when they really start getting hot on a coon.
Yep.
And when they get to the tree, you got two different dogs and two different styles of barking. And I mean, it's an amazing thing to learn that a dog can actually do this. And I'd like to get Matt to go out and do it one night.
Oh yeah, and I always tell people like it is a great sport for kids. It is
Yeah.
an amazing sport for kids because they don't have to sit in the deer blind and be quiet.
Yep.
They can throw rocks, they can break twigs, they can really do whatever they want to do until the dogs are treed. Then they come stumbling through the woods and whatever.
Yep.
And you can go up to the dogs, and it's a great sport for kids to get involved in. And there is a lot of youth events around that is specifically catered towards youth, and even other people who just want to hear it and see it. Like it's a great experience for people to do that have never seen it before.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, I know, like a couple of the guys that I've went out with, it's another good way to break people who are afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, believe it or not, it actually does work. Like my son, when he was smaller, he hated being out in the dark, and we took him out coon hunting a couple of times with us, and it broke him like that. We didn't give him a light. He had to follow everybody else with the light, and I mean, now he'll go out in the woods in the dark.
Yep.
And like me, half the time I go to my tree stand in the morning, I don't use a light anymore. Your eyes kind of adjust to that stuff after a while.
They definitely do, and there's certain times where I don't have a light on. Like I mean, depending where I'm at and where I'm walking out, like getting hit in the face with thorns either. But it depends. But there is certain times when I do get a couple bear scares.
Yeah.
It's usually not bad, but I was hunting on the edge of a cornfield this past year, and I heard some rustling in the corn. I knew it wasn't my dog. And I was like, man, that just kind of freaked me out a little bit. But it's not, like you said, you can definitely break people of being in the dark. And coon hunting is just a great experience for everybody, especially when you have good dogs.
Yep.
Now, I have a question for as a deer hunter. If can we hunt all year round for raccoons, or is it a season?
You can train. You can train all year. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But the killing season is the same as trapping season.
Same as our trapping season.
Okay, so it's later.
Yeah.
Okay, because my question was going to be, do you see that running through property that you also deer hunt bumps deer out of the area?
So,
or do the deer not care about it?
I don't care about doing it. I would have to find the video on my phone. This past summer, and it happens all the time. Like I don't like to turn a dog loose directly on top of deer unless like I need to break one. If I have to break one, I'll find a field that there's a bunch of deer in it and I'll turn a dog loose in there, but that's a different story. But when they're just out hunting, I don't see any issue with it. Like I have a video on my phone, I'd have to dig through it, but I have a buck and a nice buck, you know, a nice 100-inch Pennsylvania deer, a nice mature deer, bedded 25 yards away from the tree as my dog is just standing there, ow, 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 ow. And he's standing there. I walked up to the dog, shined the tree, found the raccoon, put my dog on a leash, turned around and walked out of the woods, and the deer didn't so much as bat an eye at me. Now, you know, if you have dogs that aren't broke and that are chasing deer, yeah, they're probably going to mess things up. But I would say that the deer are more alarmed by the scent of me walking in there than anything to do with the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was just curious about that because, so, you know, I would rather deer hunt than almost any other type of hunting.
Yep.
And sometimes that keeps me from wanting to go try different types of hunting because I don't want to go through my buddy's farm and push the deer out that I've spent the last 3-4 weeks archery hunting.
Yep. And I don't know. I mean, there's guys all over the country. Like I know, like I said, my partner, he lives in Illinois, and he'll go coon hunt a spot that night and then go sit in a deer stand the next morning right where he coon hunted, and you know, he kills deer. And I don't know. I don't think the dogs don't threaten the deer as long as they're not directly chasing them. I don't know. I personally never had bad experiences with it. A lot of times they just kind of lay there and hang out, or they'll stand there and watch you. They just kind of do their thing.
Man, we didn't even get to touch on the taxidermy work.
No, we didn't. We didn't. You know, coon dogs take up a lot of it, but I do taxidermy work. You know, and that kind of helps my coon hunting hobby. You know, because I mean, I deer hunt a little bit, and I've always loved deer hunting, but working at a taxidermy shop, you know, you kind of get deer season taken away from you. So it's nice to be able to go out and coon hunt and still be in the woods and still have something to do.
Yeah. So you want to let people know how they can follow you or anything like that with the competition stuff?
Yeah. So I have Facebook, Instagram. It's just my name, Zack Southall. And that's usually how I keep up with stuff. Especially when my dogs are winning, you know, that's always posting pictures when they're winning and stuff like that. Well, like you said, my profile picture on Facebook is me standing there with my wife and my partner and his wife and a bunch of trophies and stuff. So I'm always on there. Posting about my dog is kind of free advertising.
Right.
But that's really all I do. You know, I don't have a website or anything like that, but I run them, and there's magazines that people can get. You know, it's called Coonhound Bloodlines. It's a magazine all about coon hunting. And it's from the United Kennel Club, so it has updated scores and the qualifying events and all the big things that go on there. So
now, do you sell pups?
I do. I have just had a litter here in October. I had a female not take here. I was hoping to have some on the ground now, but my partner bred my stud dog when we were out there, so we'll expect a litter coming up here in May, and I have 3 or 4 lined up in the kennel. That when they come in, I'll breed my stud dog to them.
Cool.
I'm trying to walk a fine line with that too, because I love hunting the dog, and he's been very successful. He's won 5 out of 7 hunts that my partners put him at out there, and some pretty big ones. But I also want pups from him, you know. So I'm trying to walk the fine line of being able to hunt him, but not like, you know, I don't want to ruin the dog.
Right. Anything else for him, buddy?
No, I honestly feel like we could go another hour talking about it. It's like I'm fascinated now by this.
We can't, and I honestly think we should have him back on again. You know,
Yeah,
maybe
because we didn't even get into like the big money hunts.
right,
You know, there's different registries out now. This one's called Pro Sport, but you know, there's dogs that are winning $100,000. I mean, if you have the money to front for entry fees, I mean, you can win some big stuff. This hunt that my partner just had my stud dog in this past weekend, you know, if we would have made it through to the top 96, I think it is, you know, first place prize is 50,000.
wow,
So I mean, there's ways you can make money, and you will never ever get rich coon hunting. I promise you that, because you're traveling, you know, you're buying dogs, and your winnings will never amount to what you spend in dogs.
right.
But there's money to be won, and it's a blast.
Well, we appreciate you taking a little bit of time here to talk with us, hang out with us for a couple more minutes. We got some bills to pay here, buddy.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of money, we got bills we need to pay.
Absolutely.
So, hang out for a couple more minutes.
Creek Archery, find your passion and hunt it down.
Hillview Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Check them out, the inventory at hillviewmotors.com, and remember, Hillview has it.
Duke Traps,
That apparition scent, 100% lethal. Make sure you get your mock scrapes out there and get your certified doe estrus before the season gets started.
and don't forget to use our code Keystone, all capital letters. That'll get you some money off of your order. It's time to get those mock scrapes made, so get on it.
We got Chico Outdoors. Chico Outdoors is a nonprofit organization hosting the annual Outdoor Expo in April of every year, giving back to the community, getting kids and veterans back out into the woods. Check everything out they have on Facebook and Instagram at Chico Outdoors.
Hey, we got Bow Creek Outdoors. That's the cell cameras we use. All our cameras. I just got 2 new cameras in the mail today from Mr. Matt. TKE20 is a discount code. Give Matt a holler. Pennsylvania-owned veteran company. Give them a call. Tell them the Keystone Experience thing.
Z&M Harley Davidson, new used certified pre-owned parts department service center. They'll get you the bike that you were looking for, fix the one up you currently have, or just accessorize it. Check out the new website at znmharleydavidson.com.
Back 40 Seed Company. Hey, it's time to get them fall food plots here at the end of August. Get them in the ground. Get them started. Get yourself some Uncle Al's fall forage or some buck fuel. Keystone 10 discount code. Give Roy and Bill a holler. They'll hook you up. Pennsylvania-owned company.
Weeby Knives. You know what they say about Weeby Knives, Rob? They're wicked sharp.
They are not from Boston.
Well, regardless, it is a replaceable blade that will always be sharp when you're ready for it, along with all the other products that they have for the skinning shed. Check them out at weebyknives.com.
Trapline Beard Oil Company. Give Brian a holler. New bottles out, 1 ounce bottles. Got your beard balm coming out with soap, body wash, shampoo. Give Brian a holler. Order yourself some of this stuff up. Stay bearded.
We have Kelton Black representing American National. Make sure you give Kelton Black Agency a call for your commercial, auto, homeowners, farm, and life insurance needs. And do business with someone who cares.
Forget Genetics, another Pennsylvania veteran-owned company. Some of the minerals that we use from this company are unbelievable. There's not a whole bunch of salt. There's not a whole bunch of crap in this, not a bunch of fillers. This stuff, read the back of the container. It does good for your fawns. Better milk from the does. Helps them antlers grow. From crawl to wall, they got your 6.
GearheadArchery.com. Head over there to the website. Check out all the bows that Skip and them have available for you. From a tiny little short 24-inch carbon model to full-size target bow. We're shooting the Pivot P30 this year. Make sure you stick around to see what we do with those. But give Gearhead a call if they're rethinking tradition.
The Outdoor Call radio app. 24/7, 365 days a year. Nothing but outdoor content. Cooking, hunting, fishing, trapping. You even got some Bigfoot hunting on there. And Dan Young, the guy that runs the show, is out there looking for ghosts somewhere along the line on this thing. So download the app. Tons of giveaways. Check it out. The Outdoor Call radio app.
Well, buddy, trapping season will be here before you know it.
Yes, sir.
Along with the products we've been using, who else are we going to take to the woods with us this year?
We're going to take Wilson's Wildlife Solutions with us this year, an Erie-based company here in PA. Great people, great baits. I've been playing around with some over the property. I got some cameras on this stuff right now, just digging test holes and dumping some of this bait in there. And what I'm seeing, I can't wait to get a piece of iron in front of these holes because we're going to be having a lot of fur in the fur shed. So remember, Wilson's Wildlife Solutions. Give them a holler.
And follow along with us on Facebook, Instagram. I believe we've not been kicked off of TikTok yet.
Nope.
So we got that going still. The YouTube channel. Head over to thekeystoneexperience.com for all the episodes there. Looking for some merch, head to unityprinting.com/TKE.
And don't forget to check us out on Carbon TV. Please, when you go over there, give us a rating. We'd appreciate it. And one last thing. Check out Big Shot Targets. They gave us a discount code just for our listeners. It is the Keystone Experience. If it gets you something off of some of those targets, we use them, we beat them up. So get yourself a Big Shot.
Well, buddy, that's going to wrap this episode up here. So why don't you take us out of here?
Hey, shoot straight, keep the dirty side down.